Reports are just coming in of an explosion at Liverpool Street Station here in London.
I'm at Aldgate. I can confirm a bomb damage to train, one carriage completely wiped out, at least 9 people very seriously injured and trapped, 2 confirmed fatalities.
We're now also hearing that a bus has been ripped apart in an explosion in central London.
There is a suggestion that the explosion on the bus in Tavistock Square was caused by a suicide bomber. If they are confirmed, then that would be the first suicide bomber to have struck in the United Kingdom.
I'm standing just beside where the number 30 bus blew up on the 7th of July 2005. I've worked on the subject of political violence, terrorism for years and have an unusually critical position of the laws, let's put it that way. And what happened directly after these events in July 2005 was that the Prime Minister initially took a very, in my opinion, sensible view that you couldn't stop these things with laws, you had to try and catch them, the laws were already there, you couldn't invent new laws. And then it changed. There were, in my opinion, half-crazed proposals from government for new laws, and the whole discourse appeared gripped by a kind of panic. I thought, as a professor, after all, of human rights law, I thought I needed to get involved in trying to think about it in a way which wasn't driven by the latest headline.
Those of us at the forefront of human rights faced an enormous challenge in 2005. Everything was set for some pretty dangerous and foolhardy lawmaking, and it was incredibly important that civil society and the academy played its part.
I have been around this subject a pretty long time, and I was fairly sure that sooner or later the pressure on the political class to act would be extreme. This is what happened right through the 1970s when it was the IRA. It's what happened after 11 September 2001. And sure enough, the reaction came in the shape of proposals for yet more laws. The politics of the last atrocity is what a minister in an Irish government once referred to it as. At the time, I was directing a centre at LSE called the Centre for the Study of Human Rights. And we thought about something along the lines of a project on terrorism and human rights. By having a rule that nothing that is said is ascribed to any individual within the room, you suddenly say to the people there, the audience is not the newspaper reporting it afterwards. The audience is not the reporter trying to interview you as you leave. The audience is not your political party. The audience is in the room.
The seminars brought academics, lawyers, retired members of the security services, together with some of the people who were on the inside, the policymakers who were trying to, to think about how to respond to these events, and see if they could, work together on some of the problems and the solutions. People came at this, very different positions, and there was quite a big gap between people on some of the big questions about, whether you needed new legislation. But as the process went on, you could see a bit more respect and understanding for each other's point of view. And that did, I think, carry through into the atmosphere inside government.
Part of my goal was to get people to see people in positions of real power, that they could achieve their aims through the criminal law without the need for these special, discriminatory, unfair, disproportionate laws.
It's true that at the time we were thinking about, whether we could justify moving away from the standard criminal law approach. But, what was important in having these seminars and having people really pushing the case for, really how many of these things do you absolutely need a new approach, or how many could you achieve through existing legislation? And it had a real influence on making us sort of take a step back and think, could we justify each of these areas where we were proposing going beyond what was already there on the statute book.
The seminars played a part in shifting the ship of state away from the Belmarsh Guantanamo answer and towards the guilty as charged answer.
In a time of fear, rational debate is particularly difficult. So the beauty of Conor Gearty's work and the LSE's work is, on the one hand, providing safe public spaces, but also a safe space for private debate. And I have no doubt that when you put some of these different interest groups together in private, minds can be changed.
When I came to this country in the early 1980s, I didn't speak on the tube because I had an Irish accent. And if the ordinary person, whoever that person is, chooses to disregard this issue, then maybe they'll see some guys being picked off the bus, they'll see some other people being pulled out of the train, and they won't look like them. Maybe the range of victims will grow, and maybe society, even if it doesn't affect them, society will change around them. You need to fight because you need to have a basis in law for actions to counter terrorism and not give bad instincts in our culture their head.